Ricky Flex, bold predictions here. Now that we don't do 10, we have to go down to 5. I still think we have to keep a staple, and that's going to be the box office. I think we need to have that, Ricky Flex. I know you always prepare for it. Do you have a prediction ready in terms of box office for Superman?
Of course. Of course. This is the one prediction that you could count on that I did ample amount of background research. Most of the time, my hit rate is really good. Thunderbolts, I got bullied into doing a little bit extra than I wanted to. Ended up losing. Won't let Jax bully me into that again. I no promises. Peer pressure is bad when it comes to the box office. I'm always hopeful. I'm always an optimist. But okay. Superman. These Rotten Tomatoes, like that helps a lot, right? And I've already been looking at my AMC app, checking on the seating charts. Every single Thursday, Friday's booked. Everything's booked. That's a great sign. Usually, you don't really see that unless it's a Marvel film. Love seeing that, right? Now, let's focus on the worldwide box office, okay? These prediction totals, okay? I think we could say 600 is a conservative prediction. 700 would be okay. That will be great. I'm going bold prediction though. I think we're going to hit 800. I think we're hitting 800 worldwide. Now, let me just give you a couple facts here. Okay? So, opening weekend domestic box office projections at least 130. Okay? Some are saying it could be 150. The highest I've seen is 175, which would be absurd. That would be DC's biggest opening by far. Okay? Domestic. Okay? That would be absurd. All right? Bigger than Jurassic World Rebirth, and signaling 800 is definitely definitely coming about. Okay? The DC movie with the biggest opening weekend box office. Can you guess it?
The DC? Like, are we talking DCEU?
With DC in general, but yeah, you could say DCEU.
Wonder Woman?
Guess it. No.
Like, are you talking Batman?
Batman versus Superman. The two prized assets, right? 2016 Dawn of Justice. That was 166 domestically, opening weekend. Okay? Now, if that hits that number, we are looking at least 750. Okay? But we just keep diving in here, okay? Let's look at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, last James Gunn movie that had a full theatrical release. All right? Not thinking the Suicide Squad. All right? That had a global opening weekend box office of 282, including 120 domestically. Okay? So again, like this is going to be bigger than that. All right? The lowest projections are bigger than that. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 worldwide was 845 million. 845. All right. And yes, Superman, more American story. Don't have a Chris Pratt in the lead. It's more of an unknown. It's not the third in an iteration here. I think this Superman's going to be different. I think this Rotten Tomato score helps. I think James Gunn helps from that experience in the Guardians. All right. And then my last point is the Batman. Think back to March 2022. What did that do at the worldwide box office? The first movie really that was like post-COVID, full theaters, blockbuster event. The Batman made 772 million worldwide. So we could say it could beat the Batman, or we could say 800 and be even bolder. I think both are especially bold, but I'm going to leave the option to you, where we pick 800 plus, or it just beats the Batman worldwide.
I knew this was coming. I knew like you spearhead this prediction every time, and I was going to leave it up to you what the I guess the key number would be. And I kind of said it, will it beat the Batman? You know, can it be a movie with the most popular DC character on film, right? Would be Batman in terms monetarily. And Batman came out also 2022, a little bit still COVID effect. You know, I think that's a low number for what the Batman could have done. I think the Batman, if it came out a year later, potentially $900 million film, honestly. And that says a lot for a movie that was kind of leaning on that R-rated side, potentially has that horror vibe to it, violent, adult kind of themed. This one more kid oriented. I am in favor of saying that this will beat the Batman at the box office. That's what I'll say. It'll beat over $772 million. I think with the Rotten Tomatoes score and all that jazz, the only caveat, obviously, it's the elephant in the room, is that it has to make a lot within the first 2 weeks. The first weekend is going to be super important, building into momentum for the second weekend. We got a pretty big landscape for the second weekend, but we know what comes up that third weekend. Marvel, Fantastic Four first steps. Do you think with this positive potential word of mouth, the critics score, can it still compete and make a substantial amount of money in that third weekend competing with Marvel?
Couple pushbacks here. Or no, sorry, a couple things I'm going to agree with you on. A couple weeks, Fantastic Four is coming. That is going to be a monster. That looks like it's going to break 800 million. That is going to be crazy. And that's a huge star-studded cast that everyone knows versus here, not so much, right? This is really relying on the character and also James Gunn. Hence why James Gunn is so active in this press tour that we kind of talked about previously. So you're right. It needs to do well in these first 2 weekends. But let me throw this at you. Jurassic World Rebirth is going to be in its second weekend this upcoming weekend. So you would say, okay, similar audiences, not exactly the same, but that's similar. Okay. I think if the projections hit like 170, 175, then holy crap, then yeah, like this movie, doesn't matter what else is up. This, like, people were seeing this movie. All right. So that's a good omen for the next weekend and going forward. And I think this movie looks rewatchable. I think you mentioned the Batman, less kid friendly. I know there's rumors about this one and some stuff going on in Superman that maybe it was like kind of darker than people thought and what the trailer promotes. But on paper, I think parents are going to take their kids to this movie. Parents took their kids to Jurassic World. They were popping in my theater. They will see this in Superman. And also why it's going to be rewatchable, besides like the comedic timing, Superman, American, whatnot. This movie's 2 hours and 9 minutes. This is not the Batman's 2 hours, 56 minutes. This is a shorter film. James Gunn kept it condensed, even with a bigger cast. I think this will be rewatchable, and people might go back a second or third time to see this. So I still am confident that it will beat the Batman.
More digestible, this movie, than the Batman. And also kids, they're probably eating up all this merchandise, man. They're probably going to love Crypto. They want to see Crypto on screen again. They want to see Superman on screen again, right? They're probably going to love the Justice Gang. And I do think it's going to beat the Batman. So I think let's put that down as number one. Defeats the Batman at the box office. Good financial start for the DCU. I'm going to go into, I guess, more into like the actual movie, what we're going to see. And a huge part of the promotion of this movie has been Crypto. And James Gunn loves a animal or a creature playing a pivotal part of the story. So I'm going to jump to, I think Crypto makes the play of the day in this movie. I think Crypto saves the day. It could be Superman struggling at the end of this movie. You need someone to put like the heroes over the top. It's not the Justice Gang. It's not Mr. Terrific. It's not Lois Lane. It's not Superman himself. I think Crypto makes like almost, I guess I would call it a game sealing play in this movie. I think that's what I'm going to call it. It's the game sealing play. Crypto gets the moment, the hero's moment at the end, and it will just stack on the love people already have for the character. I think that with this director wants to give that shine to, right? Crypto, boom. That's my second prediction.
I like this. I also had this on my list. Here, let me play devil's advocate for a second, because I love to do that. What if people are saying, oh, he literally focused his last film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, on the animals and saving, like, Rocket is basically the main character of that movie. And he's kind of like the animal guy. He throws his own dog as Crypto, not like the Crypto in the comics. Look, he has his own dog modeled for Crypto. So it's like, all right, like he's just, again, this is a James Gunn shtick. Maybe he has to divert. Or it's origin movie for Superman. Superman has to save the day because in his first movie, people have to invest in him, not Crypto, and not like this shtick, not just James Gunn's shtick of animals, but also the shtick of, oh, like Baby Yoda and like we talked about Jurassic World Rebirth, like the baby dinosaur, like there's
this established lore though. Like Crypto exists. He wasn't just added out of nowhere. Like he exists in comic books, and this is the most comic book. It's being described as the most comic booky comic book movie ever made.
Right. I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like
Right.
I said off the top,
We
I
also have a Superman who's been getting it seems like in this trailer gets his ass kicked a lot. You know, maybe he can't do it on his own. And maybe that's why you need crypto.
yeah, like I told you, I had it on my list. I like the pick. I just was
Okay.
trying to think of something else to kind of, think of reason not to do this one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't do this with the box office. I was like, yeah, Ricky, let's do it. And you're like, I put out crypto. You're like, well, let's see why we shouldn't do it. You're like, what the hell is that, dude?
Well,
I'm over here wearing my Superman shirt. I got my corn sweat curl going for this, and this is what you're doing. You're going against me at this point. That's okay. Devil's advocate, good podcaster. I get it.
there you go. Yeah. All right. So crypto saves the day.
Game, yeah. I guess movie ceiling moment. You know, we puts them over the top. I don't know how you put that into words. I think I'll leave it to you with the graphic, but I think the audience understands what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
well, you want to go with your next prediction?
Okay. I think we need to talk about Ultraman. That's a big topic. And it's a big who is Ultraman? And I'm open to what we want to go with here. All right. Some are saying a clone of Superman, Lex Luthor clone, perhaps. Could be a hybrid of Bizarro, right? So I think in that last trailer we saw that crazy, similar, like looking like a Bizarro with the laser vision or laser eyes and black hair, pale, huge Superman like structure abilities. So what are we thinking here for Ultraman? I think that should be one of our bold predictions.
I am thinking that there's gonna be a reveal and he becomes the main villain in the third act of the movie. That's what I think. Maybe it's coming from somewhere else. We talked about these pocket dimensions that are going to play a role in the movie. Is there going to be someone that comes out of one of those dimensions becomes a villain at the end of the film? I think potentially pocket dimensions play a part in this. Maybe Lex Luthor grabbed this Ultraman from the pocket dimension, right, and basically put and masked him as Ultraman. And I think it's going to be Bizarro. I actually had a prediction that Bizarro will be the main villain of this movie by the third act, and it's going to be played by an actor we do not know.
Can I let me throw something at you here too? Because I was thinking like as well, like a third act spin on this. And I'm like, what if it's something that we don't even know? And what have they told you about Lex Luthor throughout this 2 years of this movie? Is that he's not the main bad guy, right? So he's not the one pulling the strings. So someone else could be pulling the strings, someone that's smart.
Could
So
you
could it
have?
be a Brainiac situation?
Wow, that's the big move if they go Lex
I know
Luthor to
that would be
Brainiac.
bold. That would be the boldest take we have.
Um, I was also thinking the Ultraman character. If you want to go back to him, he goes against Lex Luthor by the end of the movie in some kind of capacity and becomes the villain at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I think Brainiac's too bold. Maybe save him for another movie. But I was thinking that.
So, do you want to say that Ultraman crosses Lex Luthor and becomes the main villain in the third act? You could say that. What do you think?
Do you want to say that or do you want to go with Bizarro? I think those are our two options.
That last trailer showed some type of being that is fighting Superman, someone that wasn't wearing the Ultraman mask. And you also got that still of Ultraman shared by James Gunn of him looking beat up, hair sticking out of his helmet. It makes me think this could be a Bizarro situation because this is a non-traditional look for Ultraman compared to what he looks like in the comics. He doesn't wear a mask. He's basically an evil version of Superman from another world. I think we're getting that character from a pocket dimension, hence like the Ultraman type of title that he has, and we find out it's Bizarro. I think it's a combination of two pretty iconic Superman villains, and it ends up being Bizarro in the third act.
Okay, so help me word this.
Because
Ultraman-
Bizarro is also not the character itself is not easy to control. He's very like high, like he has a lot of emotions. He kind of acts in a very uncontrolled manner. So I could see that type of character going against Lex Luthor if that's the case. So I'm gonna say Bizarro's is the main villain in the third act. You can keep it simple as that.
Okay. I like this too because Bizarro, the a problem with Bizarro and just comic Superman comic lore is he's just not a big enough villain when it comes to
It's too
brains.
dumb. Like, he
Yeah,
can't be in an entire movie without any other
he's
support.
he's more of like a really good supporting henchman. Like henchman's not the right word, but I can't think of it's like if Kingpin hired the Hobgoblin, like the
But this
Hobgoblin's
guy
a
is as
great villain.
strong as Superman. That's the thing. He needs someone else to be the brains and he be the brawn. That's
Yeah,
why it's like a really good when you pair him with Lex Luthor. That's why I think he's in the movie.
yeah, I can't think of a good reason, but what I'm trying to say is Bizarro. I feel like James Gunn wants because we've never seen Bizarro on the big screen. He wants to incorporate this huge Superman villain. He is because Superman, again, we talk about it, doesn't have a huge A-list cast of villains. But Bizarro is one of those like well-known ones. So he wants to incorporate him some way in like a potential trilogy, perhaps, I would guess. But he can't be a main villain in one of these movies. How about he's one of these guys that can kind of take over the movie, but isn't like the overall arching guy throughout a 2-hour movie because he honestly can't be that guy because he is dumb.
Do you also, so if we're putting this down, Bizarro's going to be the villain by the third act. You want to put this down the prediction. Do you think Corn Sweat's playing the evil version? Or do you think it's another actor like I was talking about that we maybe don't know is in the movie that is like, oh, holy shit, that actor's in this, and boom, he's the villain.
So I remember we talked about this when it got released or it got shown in the last trailer. And the,
Potential Bizarro.
right. And my thing was David Cornsweet in his first ever leading role is playing Superman, and then you tell him he also has to play another character. For me, that feels odd. And like also this character would not be similar to Superman, obviously in abilities, yes, but in every other capacity he wouldn't be. He would have to play. It would be a completely like, I don't know, a big task, I would say. And I'm not saying David Cornsweet can't do it, just that we've never seen him do it. And to give him even more responsibility on top of that seems like that would be kind of odd for James Gunn to do. So I would say different person.
Okay. Yeah, I would say different person too. We don't have to include that in the prediction. So we're officially putting down Bizarro will be the villain of the third act. Boom. That's our third prediction. So now it's my turn to make one. I'm looking at a couple, and
You want me
maybe
to?
we do something minor. Like
Okay.
I have a couple. So one, not minor, I guess. Next movie for the DCU is Supergirl. Dude's the Supergirl make an appearance in this movie, and there's 2 post-credit scenes. Will they be consequential? I don't know. Will Supergirl be name dropped? I think absolutely. In this movie, another thing I was considering: will they name drop Batman in this movie as a prediction? Um, that's something we could talk about later on. But Supergirl next movie in the DCU, you probably will have some connection of this movie to that movie. We haven't gotten much from Supergirl. We got that picture of Millie Alcock sitting in the chair reading the comic book. We haven't seen her really in costume. There's been a couple set photos that are really blurry. I think you might get a hard launch of Supergirl at the end of this movie, leading into Supergirl. Now it's not Woman of Tomorrow, but Supergirl.
Completely agree. I've been saying this for a while. Supergirl is going to be in this movie in some capacity, whether it's a post-credit scene or actually in the movie. And now with that movie being the next DCU movie, and also Superman being like kind of like the translating hero to Supergirl, she has to be in this movie, especially because we know she's on set.
Yeah.
She's been in the suit, so we know behind the scenes in production it could work, timing could work, everything could work. So she's going to be in this movie. It's just, is it going to be actually in the movie or as a post-credit scene? One of those two.
It's hard because James Gunn's devaluing the post credit from his promotional
Right.
comments.
So I want to say she's going to be in the movie, like I've been saying for a while.
And maybe it's almost, how some you have some movies that have a post credit that's not a post credit. It's like the last scene of the movie, but it's not a post credit. I think it might be one of those situations where it's Superman saves the day, and then here comes his cousin who he hasn't seen ever and introduces herself. I don't know how long Supergirl's been in this world, right? The world has been around. Superman's been around for 3 years. Maybe this is the first time he's seeing like his cousin, like Supergirl. I think that could be one of the final scenes of the movie before you hit the credits. So I'll say Supergirl will appear in the movie.
You know what I was thinking for post-credit scene too, because we usually do that.
I have a couple for this.
I was thinking Brainiac.
I don't know if because James Gunn seems like really he's playing a little coy about a Superman sequel, what it looks like. When's the next time you'll see Superman? Will he be in Supergirl?
But then why have not one but two post-credit scenes?
James Gunn also, if we can recall, for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, he had 5 post-credit scenes. Only like one of them was consequential. I would not be surprised if it's just like a crypto post-credit that means nothing, honestly. Or maybe it's a Guy Gardner post-credit that means nothing. I'd be willing to put that. It's not a great bold prediction, but I'd be like, Guy Gardner is in a post-credit scene. You know, it seems like something he would do. But
what if it was? Okay, so now let's just be fanboys for a second here. Things you would like to see. Brainiac, I think, would be cool post-credit. I think leading into Lanterns would be a cool post-credit. A TV show, obviously, that would be kind of weird, but still, that would be kind of cool. What do you think?
Lobo?
I could see a Lobo. It's why else would they report like a year ago that Jason Momoa was going to be Lobo?
There was rumors for a while. There was rumors for a while he was in this movie.
Right. So maybe because that was so long ago, again, around production of this movie, not during the VFX year, but the year before, maybe he was on set to do a post-credit at the minimum. That would be a bold prediction.
Lobo in the post-credit.
That would be bold.
Let's put it down. Let's put a yellow next to it. How about that?
Okay.
And you're typing them in?
Lobo as a post-credit?
Okay. Yeah. Let's put that as a yellow. But I was also thinking, I was watching on Instagram Live. They had they were broadcasting the premiere. And there was an actor at the premiere that is not in the movie. And I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if he's in the movie. I haven't seen a spoiler of it. But there's an actor who's been rumored for a character in the DCU that was at the Superman premiere. You know who I'm talking about, Ricky? Any idea?
No, but I have a guess.
A guy who seems like he was made to be in a James Gunn movie. Who's your guess?
Oh, well, my guess was going to be Alan Richardson because he's been rumored, like you said, like this guy's been rumored to be. So I was like, oh, Alan Richardson.
My next hint will be that this person's actually been in a Marvel movie. A lesser popular Marvel movie.
Let me think for a second here. This guy seems like he could be in a James Gunn movie. And he's been in Marvel.
Not a very notable Marvel character at all.
Oh, okay. Lesser movie makes it difficult because now I'm thinking like Turtles. Now I'm thinking, I'm thinking that level.
Yeah.
Like, Kumail Nanjiani?
Yes.
What character would he play?
Booster Gold. He's been rumored for a long time to play Booster Gold. I had a prediction that Kumail Nanjiani will be Booster Gold in this movie and join the Justice Gang or whatever they're titled by the end of this.
But he's getting his own show.
Is he? Maybe this is how you launch the character. Maybe you don't maybe he's not a part of the Justice Gang, but like maybe he makes a cameo in the movie. He was at the premiere.
I don't know the comic book lore, as in I thought he was a solo hero. I might be.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a part of the gang, but he could make an appearance in the movie with the prospects of him getting a show sooner rather than later. His comedic beats, I think, match a James Gunn movie. And also, these other people that are involved with future DCU projects were at the premiere. Do you see Andy Muschietti was at the premiere, right? So the guy who is supposed to be directing Batman the Brave and the Bold. We'll see. He's at the premiere, so almost like to me confirms that he will be directing that movie. But it makes me think Kumail might make his debut as Booster Gold before a show in Superman.
That's a big one. I think we leave that off, but I like it.
I just wanted to throw it out there. Okay, let's go.
I like that casting though.
Yeah, I think it works perfectly for a guy who's like a hero, but he's not a hero. He thinks highly of himself. Everyone kind of looks down upon him. He doesn't really have these powers, but he's
a D-list hero and like no offense to Kumail, but he's not necessarily high end. actor, capital A actor.
So how many predictions do we have? 4 technically.
If we include Lobo, 5.
Okay, so let's go with like maybe something else that you have like really believe in before we kind of narrow this down.
I have none of those left, but I do have one here that is kind of a staple of our bold predictions, and it's a death.
Wow. Okay.
We always throw a death in there, and
There's an obvious one to me.
oh, who?
Metamorpho, but he can't because he's a kid.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something bold with Metamorpho, and I was thinking, oh, does he do the save the day moment? Because like he clearly like that divide in Metropolis that's created from him, and that's why he's probably in prison from Eris or whatever Argus. And then when Superman's in prison, he's the one keeping him hostage, basically, or in prison because of the kryptonite on his arm. So does he do like a saving play and like break him out of prison, basically? But I think that's too predictable, not bold enough.
I don't know. What else you got. I don't like that one that much.
Yeah, again, not on my list. I just thought about it. The one I have that I don't believe in, but again, I was trying to think of who's going to die in this movie, and that we don't know from like the trailer, right? And we always have to do this, and I don't really see any of these heroes dying.
I don't think we can have a death one.
They're setting everything up, but there's got to be some sort of death on here. And if it's just a robot, who I forget the name already, then whatever. But you know what I was thinking? Oh, what was James Gunn saying today or whatever? What are the 3 moments that don't need to be seen again in a comic book movie, right? And I was thinking, oh, what's a typical Superman trope? Papa Kent dies.
Pa Kent will not. I don't know.
No. Hear me out. Hear me out. I don't think that James Gunn would do the same thing off of that quote today. But I don't think you could have a Superman movie with both parents alive. I'm saying Martha Kent dies.
Okay. Ma Kent.
Yeah, Ma Kent either dies or is dead. Like I that's like again, think back at all Superman lore, whether it's 1978 Superman, whether it's Smallville, whether it's Man of Steel, it's always Pa Kent. James Gunn, someone literally today is saying, we're not doing the same shit. You know? I think he changes it up. And also when you look at the trailer, clearly Pa Kent and Clark are like really close. Maybe they're closer because his mom died. Again, it's a bold prediction. I was just thinking Martha Kent death wouldn't be crazy. It's a bold prediction, but it's not crazy.
Seems like this is the most humane Superman we've had. It's how he's described, right? A lot of emotion on his sleeve as opposed to the Cavill Superman. There has to be something really impactful in his personal life. We've seen Pa Kent die in every movie iteration of Superman. I'm okay if we say Ma Kent dies. I don't think it's that bold. I think that's just a good prediction.
But if we do that, are we taking Lobo off?
I think we take Lobo off. Or we take out Supergirl appearing in the movie. Because honestly, you could have so many post credits. It could be Peacemaker, like the evil Peacemaker, potentially even season 2 that walks out of the pocket dimension. It could be some other character walking out from the pocket dimension. I do like Lobo because he's been rumored for the movie Superman and he's in Supergirl. So that makes me think that he could be appearing in a post credit or at the end of the movie somehow, or he makes a quick cameo to kind of just proof of existence type of thing. So I kind of like Lobo in a post credit over like Supergirl appearing.
Wow. Over Supergirl. Lobo gets seen before Supergirl.
Because Supergirl's a huge character. I think you had Zaslav talk about Supergirl being one of the pillars of the DCU. And if you're doing that, it's definitely stealing some of the show from Superman. There's already so much, I guess, commentary on all the heroes in this. And they're all like C-list or less heroes that are joining Superman. But all of a sudden you add Supergirl and you're talking about her being a pillar of the DCU. It might take away some, steam from Core and Sweat. So I like Lobo as post-credit.
Okay, I like that last part, but what if I said, "Oh, then Supergirl's in a post credit"?
Well, James, that's the thing. James Gunn has talked about how he devalues the post credit. So I'm like, Lobo, he's not even the main villain, I think, of Supergirl. So I don't know. It could be just
That's a
Lobo.
lot to put in a post credit. It's not even the main villain in the
I
next
don't even
in
know
the
if we mentioned
Supergirl.
post credit. Just say Lobo appears. And it kind of like covers our bases, whether in the movie or a post credit.
Okay.
I think
Alright,
that's bold enough. Bold
so
enough
so
to say
you think
Lobo.
it's higher likelihood that Lobo's in this movie than Supergirl or appears? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, then alright, I'll ride with you. So Lobo appears, Supergirl out.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? Like, like, what are your thoughts?
I think Lobo's not big enough to be a post credit over Supergirl. I think they're truly trying to build up this universe. Clearly, this is the first movie, and they, even though James Gunn is being coy about this post credit, we've heard nothing about the Supergirl except that it started and they changed the name to just Supergirl, and they took away Woman of Tomorrow. So I think they think they know this movie's a banger. They're gonna hype you up for the next movie next year. They want you to buy in. That's why I think it's more likely Supergirl, the actual movie, who it's about. We've seen nothing yet. We've seen nothing. That's where I'm like, I think they might show us something here, whether it's a post credit or an appearance or something. That's where I'm like, kind of like, oh, I would lean Supergirl over a Lobo, where I really do. I actually like both of them. I do like I like your take with Lobo, but if I did have to pick between the two, I'm like, oh, if Lobo's not even the main villain in Supergirl, why would he get a post credit or at least appear in Superman?
Lobo, put it as a bonus. What do we have? That makes 6.
Okay, we can do
Lobo's
a
the bonus.
bonus.
I think because since we cut it down from 10 to 5, just make one that seems more unrealistic, make it a bonus. And then were there any ones that you've considered in terms of predictions? I'll list a couple, I guess. But
Yeah, you go. I don't. The last one I had was Brainiac, somehow like post credit, but I think you're right. I don't want to put that. I retract that statement.
and a thing I want to talk about is not really about who appears, but I don't think we're in a single flashback in this movie. Like, I don't think we're. It's almost similar to what like the Batman did. They didn't give a single flashback for the Batman. They put you in the world. He's existed for 2 years. Same thing with this Superman. He's existed for 3 years. These heroes have existed. We're not flashing back to anything with Ma or Pa Kent. Him, his experiences first being a hero. I don't think that we're going to get a flashback, and that's rare because James Gunn movies always jump around timelines. They always have flashbacks. I think James Gunn, along with that, a prediction I had was no noticeable needle drops. And I think they want the score to do the work for this movie. And that's also a staple of James Gunn. Him saying, I have to change up my style a little bit, more important of a character, bigger legacy. I can't take too much control, right, of something that's so hallowed and so not hallowed, but hallowed, so important to a lot of people. I can't get too funky with it.
I love that one. That is unbelievably good. I think James Gunn always does something funky like that with the music soundtrack. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and even 3, great soundtracks. Um, and in the trailers in those movies, he has unbelievable songs going through them. He didn't do that with Superman. He let the
Not a
score do the work.
single song. Not a single
Yo,
song.
I do love that. I
Maybe we
will.
get rid of the Lobo one. Just get rid of it. Add that one.
Yeah, that I love that. My I will disagree on the flashback though, because like you said, James Gunn, I feel like relies on the flashback a little bit. And to go along with our Ma Kent death, I think we might get a flashback to like post Ma, like Ma Kent might be already dead, and we might get a flashback to Ma Kent or something. And like David Cornsweet in the trailer looks younger when he's conversing with Pa Kent, so it might be right after the Ma Kent death. So I'm not in love with the flashback. I think it's a good take, but I am not on board with the flashback just in case, because I think it's a bold prediction, but I don't think I'm on board with that, because I think with, like you said, the James Gunn history and also what we've seen in the trailer and the other prediction that we have with Ma Kent.
Okay. Replace Lobo, and we're gonna say no needle drops. Flashback wise, I'm okay leaving that off for sure. I think the scene where you had Pruitt, I forgot the guy's last name. The guy's playing Pa Kent, him embracing Corn Sweat. It could be after the death of Ma Kent. That could be the scene. So
Right.
That's why it makes me like your prediction that Ma Kent dies in this movie. This is the other one I had. I said Batman name drop. He's existed, I think, in this world at this point. Superman's been around for 3 years. Batman, the next movie is Brave and the Bold. He has a Robin, so it's Damian Wayne, so he's been in this world. I think there will be a name drop of Batman.
Oh, you actually think that? Like, or is that like just a take?
No, I think it's gonna happen. I think they're gonna mention Batman, but
So, like,
also
sorry, let's just stay on this for a second. Big thing online this week was the soundtrack got released or whatever, the scores, whatever, for Superman, and that one with Batman, like
no.
it sounded like the Batman score. I don't think he's in this movie. That's not what I'm saying. But that was a big topic online this week, and I thought that was like taken way too far.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what that aligns with, what's seen in the movie, and I think it's gonna be far from like anything like the Batman. And having in Muschietti at the premiere, it shows me that Brave and Bold is happening. We are getting a different Batman. We are not getting Pattinson in the DCU. I'm fairly, I would say I'm 90% sure. 90.
Yeah. I would be shocked if Batman, like, I would be dumbfounded if Batman was in this movie because
Not in
to
it.
me,
I'm not saying he's in it.
yeah,
Just
yeah, right.
name
Because that would be the first thing we talk about when we leave the theater is holy shit, Batman was in this. Not, oh my god, that was a great movie. Or I love that Superman. Your cornerstone franchise builder in Superman. You're not talking about that. You're talking about Batman in the movie for a second. That's why, like, I kind of lean towards not of him not even being mentioned because me and you will be like, wow, Batman, like Muschietti, like who's gonna be the Batman? Like, I don't even want him mentioned in this, but I could see him being mentioned, but I wouldn't like it.
Work at the Daily Planet. There's someone probably name dropping Batman. What's going on in Gotham City? You're
What
talking
about
about
Bruce Wayne?
happenings of the world. Bruce Wayne could be easily mentioned. You could talk about Star City. You could talk about Bloodhaven. I think you're going to get name drops at different parts of the DCU at the Daily Planet because that'd be the place to do it without sounding too like we're building a universe for the first time. You need to be aware of these places. Most place that could sound natural in the dialogue would be the Daily Planet. Speaking of the Daily Planet, I was rewatching Superman 78 today. I think if I was to make a if we were doing 10 bold predictions, I would say there's going to be a play on Lois Lane misspelling things. I don't know if you watched Superman 78 recently. The Margot Kidder version of the character doesn't know how to spell. So I hope that in this movie, you get a lot of misspelling from Rachel Brosnahan, Superman, or Clark correcting her, Jimmy Olsen correcting her on her spelling. That'd be a nice little like tribute to the 78 version.
I think that's a great point. I think there'll be at least one with that. I think actually, if I had to guess, there'll be exactly one time it happens. But you already see like some of the O's of 78 or Christopher Reeve's Superman, like even with the interview in the
Yeah.
theater, you
The
know,
balcony, in Superman 78, same thing.
exactly. So they're already doing these odes, right? So I think that is actually that's a great prediction, not bold, but that's a great like 1-to-1 thought, prediction.
Any other ones you have before we wrap the preview up?
No, I would just say like the Ultraman thing. I think like we kind of ditched that and just went Bizarro. That is a big topic. I think because that's going to open up like how we're like is this movie going to be reliant on using these what's it called the alternate universes dimensions the
Pocket dimensions.
pocket dimensions. Thank you. Are we going to be too reliant on the pocket dimension? Again, we'll do our instant reactions shortly. Are we going to be too reliant on those? Is the DCU going to be too reliant on those? Like again, the Superman, the depth of the villains isn't that much there. Is there going to be too many villains that we take out of the pocket dimension of this one movie when there's already so many different characters? A lot of questions with the pocket dimensions and Ultraman itself. And last thing with that is like, if it is a clone of Superman, then you're doing that in the first movie. Like that is a lot to do, like in the second and third with Lex Luthor, because Lex Luthor's like, how is he gonna even compete against Superman if he already brings out like probably his best like combative, which is a clone of Superman to beat Superman?
It's going to be very up in the air. Like I'm not sure exactly what's happening. If Ultraman is it going to be a huge reveal? Who it is? Is it Bizarro? Is Bizarro coming from a pocket dimension and it's not Ultraman? Is Ultraman taken out sooner in the movie than we think? And we talk about potentially Ultraman crossing Lex Luthor. Is Ultraman actually Bizarro? That is the hottest take. Like, we don't know. That is so up in the air. And I love that about the promotion of the movie because I feel like we've seen so much of this, yet we still don't know much about who is working with Lex Luthor here, who's behind the Ultraman mask. And that's been a problem with Superman, particularly Batman versus Superman, and other DCEU movies and superhero movies in general with their promotion, their giveaways. And here it seems like we really are unsure.
Yeah, which I think is great. And like what goes along with that, and kind of like with this villain narrative that I've been talking about with Superman just in history, is they created a new villain for this movie in Hammer of Baravia. And it's like,
Is he new? Hammer Bravia?
I believe that is a brand new character. And like there's some speculation where it could be Supergirl. There's some speculation that's the clone of Superman. Like there's so many things up in the air, but that one clearly looks like it's going to be a small role, smaller than Ultraman, smaller than the Engineer, smaller than Lex Luthor, and all these other villains in the movie. But does that have some sort of important reveal, maybe at the end of the movie or something like that? I think again we'll see, but it looks like you have something to say.
Well, I just did some research. Hammer of Bravia is a new character. It's not established in Superman lore,
Right?
but I don't know if you saw the clip today of the Hammer of Bravia. Did you see that?
No, I
So
did not.
there's a scene that was released. It's the Hammer of Bravia being controlled by Lex Luthor. You
Oh, so
know,
you're saying nobody's in the suit?
potentially nobody's in the suit. Maybe a henchman of Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor is basically controlling the suit from like his watchtower at LexCorp or Luthor Corp, wherever they're calling it in this movie. He's controlling the movements and like the direction that the Hammer of Bravia takes.
I
So
would hate, like, again, the one time or the first time that we reduce this from 10 to 5, and like we get these like extra predictions, right? Or like of like, oh, Hammer Bravia, oh, there's no one inside, it's just a Lex Luthor like robot, basically. And like Lobo, oh, he's in this, or like, you know what I mean?
yes, it makes me also think like with him controlling the Hammer of Bravia in that scene, there's a good chance Ultraman does cross Lex Luthor by the end of this movie.
How so?
Because he's in control of the Hammer of Bravia. Lex Luthor is a guy who likes to be in control of situations. He likes to be the smartest guy in the room, likes to be, the guy who is making the ultimate call. And Ultraman is potentially rivaling the power of Superman. He's like, why am I taking orders from a guy who's weaker than me? I could see that potentially happening. And Lex, maybe the temper gets the better of him. Maybe he talks down to Ultraman, and then boom, he crosses him, tries to take down Superman. Boom, here we go, the third act. I could see that happening too. But can you read our 5 bold predictions plus our bonus before we wrap today?
So, number one, worldwide box office beats the Batman. Superman will beat the Batman at the worldwide box office, 772 million. Crypto makes a defining play, saves the day. Still working on that wording. 3, Bizarro will become the main villain in the third act. Not just in the movie, becomes the main villain in the third act. That's what we have. 4, we have wait. Yeah, we have Supergirl appears in the movie. That's what we have right now. And 5, we have Ma Kent dies or is dead in the movie. And then we have a bonus. There will be no needle drops, no major needle drops in this movie.
I think it's pretty good. I think something else that I'll just throw out there as a potential, something that maybe the Hammer of Bravia doesn't work, and maybe the Hammer of Bravia gets destroyed. Who do we know does jump in a suit to face Superman? It's Lex Luthor. Would Lex Luthor jump in a suit by the end of this movie?
To do it this early, like as in this early in a trilogy, hopefully a trilogy, that seems like a lot. But I do love that take.
Okay. Just wanted to throw it out there before. Oh, you can't leave anything on the field. You got to leave it all out there. So those are our bold predictions. Any last comments for a preview of Superman before we go see the movie?
I'm hyped, Doc. I made the bold take that this is the year of Superman, the year of the blockbuster, the year of Superman. I think we're ready for this. I think Fantastic Four will be great. I think there'll be other movies that are great, but in a year defined by the blockbuster, I think Superman might not make the most either. Fantastic Four might beat it. Wicked might beat it, but the best overall movie along with the box office will be Superman.
I'm excited to see Corn Sweat, really. And a lot of these reviews, they're highlighting him. And how his Superman differs. And I was watching Superman 78, like I said, and Christopher Reeve is so good. He is so good as that character, the defining iteration of the character. How does David Corn Sweat differ? Can he take up the mantle from Henry Cavill? Can he improve upon it? And can he kind of live up to the high expectations of being the core of the DCU? And then also, I can't wait to see the surrounding parts of the DCU. Like, as a nerd, I like seeing the mentions of Gotham City, Bloodhaven, Star City, whatever it may be. Other heroes that are name dropped, the ones that do appear. I can't wait for that. And something else, Ricky, I did want to say the Justice Gang. I didn't know if we were gonna have a prediction for them, and I could see them splintering by the end of this movie. I could see Mister Terrific and maybe splitting away from Guy Gardner, who's like a dick, and Isabella Merced's Hawk Girl. Those two are in the Peacemaker trailer for season 2, but I don't think Mister Terrific is. So I can see Mister Terrific splintering away, maybe a spin-off movie for him afterwards or
There's been a
something
lot
like
of praise for Eli G. Don't want
Ed,
to
Ed Gaethje.
or Ed. Sorry, Ed Gaethje. Gaethje. If you never say that last name before I say it, I will always get it wrong. I don't think I'll ever remember that. But there's been a lot of praise for him in this, So no wonder he might not be in the Peacemaker season 2 because maybe he's only for theatrical releases. They might be saving him only for the big screen, which I love. That's a good omen for this movie.